All right. This is Samuel G. I'm going to be reviewing Psi Run from Maggie Baker. This is a really neat little game, really short. Plays in 2 to 5 hours for 3 to 5 people, and it's really dynamic, full of action, and quite simple. It's written in the book that you can learn the game in like 30 minutes by reading the whole book, and that's true. I calculated it took me 35 minutes to read through, and it's written in such a way that you get it first read. It's small, you can tell. It's written big, and it's one thing that I really like. You see, the subtitles are questions, so it's super pedagogical. Like you start to read the question, you read the question, and then you get the answer. You read the question, then you get the answer, and those questions are like they come naturally by reading the book. You also have those boxes like that tells you, that gives you like graphics of the different risk in the game, because the game is structured around those risk boxes. You have those conversation between characters like that gives you an example of play, and it's really clear. So it's quite easy. It's quite easy and fast and simple to learn. A really nice game in that sense. It's a game that does one thing only. There's no big character development. It's really more like a, one night game, party game maybe, or just a group of friends together one night. Let's do a Psi Run. So basically, the story is about. It's always the same story. It's about you kind of change the skin of it. Together as a group, you decide of the setting a little bit. Do you want like a more cyberpunky setting, or more action-packed setting, or maybe in the 50s or whatever? But it's always the same structure. There is a crash at the beginning where the runners evade from a situation they were in. They have amnesia. They don't remember nothing from their past, and they have psionic powers, and they have just glimpse of memory, and they want to try to find out what it, find some answer to these memories. And they have chasers that gonna run after them. You can tell by the cover. You see the cars in the background that kind of run after the runners, and that's it. That's basically what it is. And the game ends when you either get captured, get answers to your questions. One of the player has answer to the question, then you go to a crossroad scene, or when you die. So that's it. That's basically what it is. Now, how does it work? So for example, you start by creating runners. So when you create runners, it's quite simple. This is the character sheet. You find a name, some kind of an age, a look to it. You describe the psi power, and you write some questions here, Q&A. And at the beginning you only have the questions, and then you get to answer them by playing. And you have the crossroad where this is the final scene. There's no dice that are being rolled, and you just basically get to narrate what happened and what's the epilogue kind of thing. So let's say, for example, you write a question like, what is this tattoo on my arm about? Or who is Bob? And questions like that. So for example, by saying who is Bob, I just created Bob. And what's cool with this game is that I might not even get to tell who is Bob. Maybe it's going to be another player who's going to tell me who is Bob. So he's going to invent it. He's going to have narrative control in that sense. Or maybe it's going to be the GM who's going to tell me who is Bob. It might be me as well. I don't even know. So it might be me, and to my advantage, I'm going to tell that Bob is XYZ. So we'll see in an example. The game is constructed around risk. So this is basically what happened when you play. You have a situation, and you want to overcome it. So there's always going to be a goal. You're always going to have a chase somehow that's gonna happen, and some kind of a reveal as well. So you always gonna have at least 4 dice, and the rest is depending on how you do the thing you want to do. So I'm gonna try to give you some example. I'm gonna show you the chaser sheet, because the GM is playing the role of the chaser. So it's really GM against player, definitely GM against player, and it's a really collaborative storytelling game, because depending on how you roll and how you select your dice, nobody's gonna it's gonna be a different person every time you describe and narrate what's going on, giving answers to the questions and stuff like that. So the chasers, you get to give a concept to your chaser. Are they doctors? Are they military? Are they alien? Are they whatever? You give the look, the way they do it, and the kind of technology they use. And the more you play, the more the sheet is gonna get filled with descriptors, depending on how the dice are falling and what's going on, and depending also on the questions the player are gonna write on their sheet and stuff like that. But you have an overall look at the beginning, the kind of level of technology they use, the kind of method they use to chase you and track you, and what they look like. And basically that's what it is, really simple, and then it gets filled up a little bit along the way. So let's see how it goes. So the game is a scene framing game that use what it calls a trail. And this is what the trail is. So the first place is a crash. And the players start here. So this is gonna represent the player. And the chasers are gonna be this little dot here. Chasers are not on the trail yet, because the characters are on the crash scene. So let's say, for example, one of the characters called G, and G kind of knows or remember that he has a house near the crash site for some reason. And so we create that box here that's going to represent another scene. So we're going to leave the crash scene and we're going to go here. So if it makes sense in the story, if there's no risk whatsoever, you don't need to roll for that. You just create a scene, you go in the box. If I understand the game right. And then here, the door might be locked. And these guys don't move until the dice are rolled. So the door might be locked. So now we have a situation where I need to roll the dice. So in this game, you have minimum 4 dice, maximum 6 dice. And what you do is that you go on the risk sheet. So you might want to print that. And you have a space in the circle like that where you put the dice in. So let's say, for example, I want to open the lock of the door. So every box tells you the result of the dice, what's going to happen. There's no, it's not, you don't have a freedom of whatever you want to do with the dice result. The GM doesn't tell you anything. The game tells you everything. So, for example, I'm going to roll some dice. So let's say I want to open the door. So I'm going to have a die because I'm a runner. I'm going to have a gold because I want to open the lock. I want to open the door, that is locked. I have a reveal because I might gonna have something that I remember. And there's always going to be a chase going on because the chasers are always chasing. I'm not going to use any Psi. It's not a situation where I can get hurt, and capture is not in play yet. So I'm going to roll the dice. So 4 dice. So let's say for example, I roll these numbers. So I go back here. Sorry about that. I go back here and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna use my 5 to open the door. 4 to 6, I get it, and GM has first say on how it went. So I put the dice in the little circle there, and I get a success there. I have a 6, so I'm gonna use a 6 in my reveal. That way I get a memory, I get a question answer, and it's me that tells the answer. So I kind of have a control on my story here. And I'm gonna use 1 for the chase Chaser, move 2 locale closer. That's too close. I'm gonna use my 3 there for the chase. So that way the chaser are only gonna reach crash site. So if I do that, I get in. These guys go there, and I get to answer my question myself. But let's say I don't want these guys to come in. So I use my 6 on the chase. I use 1 here. I don't want to get in. So if I get a 1 on the goal, runner fails the goal, but the player has first say. And I use 6 on my reveal again. Well, or I use 6 on the chase, so these guys don't come in, or 5. I use 6 here, so I get to remember, for example, that Bob is the neighbor, and Bob has the key to get in. So that's why I can't get in. So instead of, let's say, for example, instead of writing the bridge here, I'm gonna say, let's say, Bob's house, and we're gonna decide to go to Bob's place, where something else is gonna happen, whatever. And that way we get even further from these guys, and I get some question answer somehow, you see? And this is how it goes. And this is how it goes for everything that happens in the game. And the whole idea is to move away from these guys by choosing what die we put in the chase box. And the game kind of just go that way, and the mechanic just moves along where sometimes you have tough choices, because you know the game, you win the game when you get answer to your question before getting caught. So you want to put the highest number all the time in reveal somehow, but depends as well, because sometimes you are stuck. Let's say, for example, it's not an easy story like that, but you are on the top of a building and you want to jump on the other side. You don't want to fall. You don't want to die, so you're going to put the highest number on your goal. So this is the whole thing. This is how it goes. This is how it works. And when you get hurt, for example, when you are like double impaired, you have like one of the highest situation where you are hurt the most, you have to put the highest on impaired all the time until you get healed. And to be healed, it has to be a goal to heal someone. So if you want to succeed, you need to put the highest number on healing someone. And then, so if you have 3 to 5 player, well, all kinds of things happen around the table. If you have like 3, 4, 5 players, depending on the more player you have, the more situation happens to everybody that trying to do stuff. And the more stuff you do, the more chances you have to lose time, and therefore these guys are gonna come after you. And the trail keeps going on and on and on, and the places are adding up in the way that it makes sense. So that's basically how the game goes. And the crossroad is basically how it ends. So, for example, you get to answer all your questions. You choose a crossroad, so it's a place. So the book tells you the different places on the character sheet you can be, and when the games end, you end up in one of those places, finding about what happened to you. And there's a couple of different ways to end the game depending on the situation. If you get captured, if you get caught, if you die, if you die, or if you end the game. For example, you answer the question, but you don't want to end the game. The other guys want to keep going, but so the character that managed to go to a crossroad can become a GM with the GM and narrate the stuff. So nobody is never off the grid playing that game. Let's say, for example, everybody wants to finish their character. They want to answer their question, because this is the character development in this game, basically, like you don't advance on skills and levels and stuff like that. You get to know about your character more. And by knowing a little bit more about the character like that, you get to understand what's going on in a way that it it makes you finish the game. So there's a little bit of strategy as well, which makes for a really cool night of role playing. So I like these kind of game because they play fast, easy, and it makes for a cool party kind of thing night. You have some beer, have some fun, have some tea, whatever, and you get to play. And there's always tough choices about how am I going to use the dice to get what I want from a situation. So it creates those moments, and I recommend it. It's good. It's good to have, it doesn't have a big involvement in it, so and it's easy to teach somebody. So you have friends that never played before, and you can play with them like that. And that's kind of luxury in role-playing games, because sometimes people never get to play because the game is too long, too heavy, too draggy, and that can be done in like 2 to 5 hours. So this is Psi Run from Maggie Baker, and yeah, recommend it. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.